So on this video, we're going to be talking about in a lineup from worst to first on which Acuras I believe can achieve 200,000 miles in that order with the minimum amount of maintenance and issues that I foresee happening. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first on the list, and again, this is from worst to first. So the one that I think will have the most problems will be, and if you saw my Honda version of this video, this will probably come at no surprise, it's going to be the ZDX. So the only thing accurate about it is the emblems and the badges. Everything else is a GM. So I'm not sure about on the ZDX side of things, but for the Prologue at least, there's been countless batteries that have failed. I myself had a charge port fail. So these things are going to rip through tires like it's nobody's business. That's just kind of goes with the whole EV package. So, and I just simply don't see it reaching 200,000 miles with at least one battery pack failing. Now, I may be wrong here, but chances are I'm probably not. And 200,000 miles is a lot of mileage for that single battery pack to last. Now, this is still a GM product, although it is sold by Acura. So it is going to be on the list here. And I think these things have a ton of tech and unfortunately will just be, laced and tied up to a ton of issues. All right, so number 2 on the list, starting from the bottom up, is the MDX Type S. So a couple of things I see with these vehicles. So number one being that these vehicles are stripping transfer cases. So at that point, you need a transfer case with a transmission. So that's all fine and dandy now because they have a warranty. But once these vehicles are out of warranty and Acura doesn't address this, then this is obviously something that will eventually happen anytime before 200,000 miles, especially if you drive the car spiritually, as you should, since it is a performance type of vehicle. So you bought it to drive it that. If not, you would have just gotten one of the lower trim MDXs. So that would be issue number one. Another thing I see a lot of is panoramic roofs and stuff of that nature. So the more tech these cars have, the more chances of these things breaking. And let's be honest, none of these issues are easy and affordable to the everyday person. So all of these are big chunks of change to fix most of them. So thirdly, we have a new engine in this car. So it's a J30 and it does come with quad VTC. So the time belt package is going to be a big job and fairly expensive. So that will come into part of maintenance. So that's something that you have to consider. Also, we will see if these cars develop any sort of a VCM gear oil leaks, oil pump leaks like the older J series. Now, I haven't looked at the oil pump yet 100%, but if it's anything like the older J series at some point, well before 200,000 miles, chances are they're going to be leaking. And the rear main seal, same thing as the oil pump. So these cars typically leak from both sides on the older J series. I have no reason to believe that that's going to change. It's just something you have to consider if you're going to purchase one of these. Also, it's all-wheel drive, got a lot of fluids to maintain. A lot of them are fairly expensive. So it's just something you have to consider all around. Plus, you have Brembos. You're going to have to replace these rotors basically at every service that you need to get these brakes replaced. So a lot of expenses, even if it's just regular maintenance, plus the unforeseen things that I foresee happening. And obviously, this trans situation is a big bummer, but hopefully Acura comes out with some sort of a TSB or an update or warranty extension. So for that reason, I'm placing the MDX Type S in this slot. All right, and after the MDX Type S, we have the TLX Type S. So same type of situation. The only reason the TLX Type S made it just above the MDX is because it's less tech heavy and has no panel roof. So that's two things that you could probably save some money on in the future with some sort of maintenance. Now, doesn't mean any of this stuff is going to break, but chances are, once again, the more tech these cars have, the more chance of these things are to break. So again, TLX Type S only offered in all-wheel drive. So you have front transfer case, rear diff, you have to maintain, trans fluid, trans filter. Working on this car is an absolute nightmare. I'm working on every week, and it's not fun. Everything's super cramped in the engine bay. Same thing for the MDX Type S. So they also share the same issue with the MDX Type S, that these transmission and transfer cases are stripping at that point, effectively making the car only front wheel drive. So again, hopefully Acura sees enough of these where they do take a look at them and investigate and potentially either have a warranty extension or an updated part for that situation, part or parts. So, and these are breaking with stock power. So unmodified TLXs and MDXs Type S's are stripping these on stock power. So there's been numerous of cases. So it's definitely something you have to consider if you're purchasing one of these vehicles. So likewise, the MDX, we have rear main seal concerns at reaching before 200,000 miles, oil pump reseals, and tie and belt package is going to be expensive. Everything's super tight on that side of it, way worse than the Pilot even. So definitely going to be some frustrating tie and belt services for these technicians or mechanics doing these elsewhere. And again, the VCM stuff, I am concerned with oilies at that point as well. And just we'll see kind of how it goes from there. But I foresee definitely some issues there along the line. So for that reason, I'm placing the TLX Type S right here. So the next on the list is the Integra with the 1.5T. So all specs besides the Type S, obviously. So yeah, I foresee some head gasket issues. The only thing that kind of is different from the Honda side for most trims is that Honda or Acura recommends higher octane fuel. So maybe that'll reduce some detonation going on in there and kind of prolonging that issue. Although the block is still the block, the head bolts are still the head bolts. Nothing's different from the Integra engine versus all the other engines for the 1.5T. Bare block, head bolts, all the same. So hopefully this isn't a trend, although in 2-3 years, we'll definitely have a good feel for this if I'm correct or not. But reaching 200,000 miles on this head gasket, I don't foresee that happening. Now, as long as it's not happening within 50,000 miles, like we're seeing it on the Honda side, and it happens at like, let's say 180, that's a lot more acceptable, not in Honda standards. Although for a turbocharged forced induction engine, I'd be okay with replacing a head gasket at 150 plus versus doing that 50,000 miles. So, couple things here, but major items. And overall, there's been some quality control issues with the Integra as well. But, not too bad as far as other things, but those couple reasons, obviously something to be concerned with and will cost you some money well before that 200,000 mile mark. So for that reason, I'm putting the Integra over here. Up next, we have the RDX. So this is only offered in 2.0. Now it does come two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. So if you have four-wheel drive, then obviously the rear diff has to be maintained. Not a big deal. Now I have seen some of these head gaskets blow on these as well. Now it's usually higher mileage. I've also seen a couple of cases of a cracked cylinder heads on the 2.0. So something we have to worry about as far as the casting goes. General maintenance will be applied to this vehicle, tires, brakes, yada, yada. They do come with a panel roof. I'm not sure if it's all trims, but I know they offer it in some trims for sure. So I know they've had some issues in service bulletins with those. Now, if you don't catch it before that service bulletin is out, then potentially you may have to pay out of pocket for that repair. So obviously the big things to worry about here would be head gaskets, head. There's no tie and belt, so that is good there. Couple different maintenance items and stuff like that. Interior quality, some small tech stuff, and obviously the panel roof could be a bigger job. But for that reason, I am putting the RDX here. All right, so next is the TLX 2.0. So same kind of story as the RDX, offered in both two-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. I'm not sure if these are stripping transfer cases as well. If you're an Acura tech, drop a comment down below if you have seen one. I know the Type S stuff for sure. But yeah, so I've also seen some blown head gaskets on these, as well as a couple cases of cracked heads. So obviously something going on with the casting process, or maybe that turbo just heating up that part of the head too often. It does seem to be right around the exhaust manifold flange. So maybe the weight of the turbo or the heat, something along those lines, just some poor casting. We don't know, or so we'll have to see if that kind of continues to be a trend or not. but some Fokker issues as well. That's kind of across basically the whole Acura lineup. But most of those cases, and I believe they actually have a recall for that to get that service. So hopefully, if it's anything like the Honda side, we've had a great success rate with that and doesn't keep to bug people with all sorts of wacky stuff, poppings and screens going blank and stuff like that. But again, you know, a lot of tech, big screens, a lot of digital stuff. So folding mirrors, puddle lights are obviously a big thing for these cars. Honda can't make a puddle light to, you know, save themselves for whatever reason. But, you know, it's small stuff, bigger stuff, but overall, a reliable car. The 10-speed on all these seems to be reliable with the exception of the stripping transfer case gear. So other than that, pretty reliable car. So for that reason, it does land right in here. All right, so now we have all trims, MDX, obviously not the Type S. That one we listed earlier. So great vehicle, does come with the trusted 10-speed automatic transmission. Still has the old style J series, so single overhead cam, ultra reliable. Obviously there could be some oily concerns there, just like any other J series, and you still have a time belt package. Now it is the old style single overhead cam, so dual heads, single overhead cam. So the time belt is way easier to do on these. So definitely still an expense, but not as big of an expense as the dual cam V6 one. So obviously we still have some panel roof issues here and just a lot of tech going on. But overall, I think it's a pretty sound vehicle. And, you know, if you come and get the all-drive model, you have to do a rear diff, transfer case, stuff like that. For all-drive model, then obviously just a trans, which saves you some money there. If you're in the southern part of the country, there's no reason to get an all-drive vehicle, unless if you wanted to. But here in our area, we rarely see anything two-wheel drive besides, you know, the Integra and stuff, and that's basically it. So overall, a great reliable vehicle. Buy with confidence. Doesn't mean there's not going to be some issues, but overall it is a great car. So for that reason, I'm putting it right here. And the king of the hill for this video is going to be the Integra Type S. So I have yet to drive one, but if it's anything like the Civic Type R, it is a phenomenal car to drive with minimal issues. Yes, there will be some issues, but most of the time when we see issues on these cars, we're talking clutches, grinding gears. A lot of that is due to user error. So if you don't drive the car like you stole it, chances are you're not going to have any of those issues up until 200K. Clutch probably wear out. If you, again, take care of it, do your maintenance on your trans, don't drive it like you stole it every time, probably won't see any gear issues or anything of that nature. The transmissions seem to be very robust, so that is a great thing. Now, I do foresee some people bending a lot of wheels, popping tires. Same thing with the FL5. It's just what it is. Not as bad as the FK8. That thing was a disaster. People would come in with temp steel on two blown wheels with bent rims. So Honda did downsize on both trims to 19-inch wheels, which does seem to be, you know, doing most street drivers a lot of good. So overall, I think it's a great car. I hope to own one day, either that or FL5, and I probably will at some point. In addition to the TLX, I'm not going to get rid of it. Driving an all-drive car is night and day from a front-wheel drive car, and they obviously have their differences. So, can we see a blown head gasket? Absolutely. 200,000 miles, again, is a lot of mileage. If you're modifying these cars, then obviously throw everything I'm saying out the door. And if you're abusing it, then you're going to see a lot more issues. But these cars have been known to take a ton of power and taking it very well. So, but again, 200,000 miles is a lot of mileage, but overall minimum tech in these cars. So nothing unforeseen, no time belt package you have to do, no rear diffs, no transfer cases, nothing of that nature. So for that reason, I'm placing it at King of the Hill, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.